Welcome to a new video in my home automation series, and today I'm going to review a Moes Zigbee LED controller that I received from Moes free of charge for this review video. And this is the second time I'm reviewing a Moes product because I also reviewed their Zigbee radiator thermostat that I received for Banggood probably about, maybe it was about a year ago. So I want to do a little bit more Zigbee stuff because I find it really easy to extend in a home where, well, it is already built, so you can't really do wires. And I haven't done a RGB controller, so I was really happy to receive this. And I actually received two things. So I received a kit that came in this big box you can see here. So that contained the Zigbee controller, a power brick, and also a LED strip, so it's a 5-meter LED strip. But I also received a separate controller as well, without any of the additional things. So if you already have the LED strip and you can source your power supply yourself, you can just buy the controller itself. And by the way, these are exactly the same. So this is the ZLD-RCW Zigbee controllers. And what is special about these is you might be able to tell from the wires that this is actually an RGB CC controller. And the LED strips are also RGB and CC. So if you look closely, this is one of the sections how you can cut it, but then it has 3 RGB chips. But then in between there are also other white chips. So there are warm white LEDs here, and there is cool white LEDs here. So this is really good if you not only want colors, but you also want white colors, because it is really difficult to reproduce a very nice white color using the RGB LEDs. But now, because this has the white LEDs as well, if you want a white light, a cool white or a warm white, then the controller is going to turn off the RGB LEDs, and then it's going to control or only light up the white LEDs. And of course, if you want cool light, only the cool light LEDs are going to be on. If you want warm light, then only the warm light LEDs are going to be on. And if you want anything in between, then it's going to be the mix of two. And later on in this video, you are going to see that I was able to use this controller for Sonoff. So I was using it with my new NS Panel Pro. And since they started supporting Zigbee light bulbs, it looks like that this Moes controller is using the same profile. So it was able to control the white level, the RGB brightness, everything you would expect. And of course, it also worked with Tuya. So this is mainly supported by Tuya. So I was using it with my Zigbee Blitzwolf Zigbee gateway, and it was working fine. And since I also have a Zigbee2MQTT network at home, I was trying with that, and it is working with that as well. So this is really good because, well, at least the 3 systems that I tested with, it was working fine. So I have really high confidence that if you have another Zigbee network, it would most probably work with that one as well. Let me talk about the kit and the controller in a little bit more detail. Well, let's first talk about the controller because that's the main thing. So as I said, ZLD-RCW, so that's that's the model number, and it supports 12 to 24 volts input. So again, you can use it with 12 volt LED strips or 24 volt LED strips, and the output current is 6 amps per channel. And for total, that means 15 amps. So this is, quite big. I think it's a, fairly beefy controller, and the LEDs are common anodes. So there is a volt positive, so 12 volt or 24 volt positive output, and then you have the cathode output for basically the 5 channels, so RGB, CW, so cold and warm light. And I was thinking maybe you can also use it to drive 5 different, let's say, white LED strips, which I think it should be able to do. But as you would see later on, when I try to set the colors in the different user interfaces, I can either change to color mode where it's going to drive the RGB outputs, or I can change it to white mode when it only drives the 2 white outputs. So it's not going to do all 5 outputs together. So, but I think in some cases that would be good as well. So let's say I want a little bit of red tint, so I turn the red, but then I also want a lot of brightness, so I could turn the white and the two white channel on, but I wasn't able to do that for now, or up until now. And on the other side there are two power ports. So there is a regular barrel jack for power, so 12 or 24 volts, and there are also like regular, you know, cable power connections. And yeah, that's pretty much it. On the brick, so this is just a generic power brick, 12 volt, 1 amp. So definitely it's much less than what the driver is capable of, but if you just want a simple setup with this LED strip, then you can have this adapter. And that probably tells that this LED strip that was given is not the highest power one, because, you know, for 5 meters, 1 amp, it's not a, you know, it's not a big deal. So you can probably buy, you know, higher density LED strips that have more LEDs per meter. But then of course you have to have your own power supply. So you probably need like a, well, you have to check the specs, but maybe like a 5 amp power supply. And again, I think this is like a generic LED strip. It is, it has the waterproof coating on it. And as I mentioned before, you can see the different set of LEDs and then the connections here. So 12 volts, RGB and CW. And in terms of the connection, this is how you would set it up. So it's black, red, green, blue, and gray and yellow. Well, it's based on this LED strip. But again, you know, as I said, V plus is your common anode, and then you have the 5 channels. So you can just move the wires around if your LED strip produces the wrong color or the wrong color temperature. And if you buy just the LED strip, then you get this in this small box. Yeah, there's nothing special about that. And there is also a really small user manual which comes in a couple of different languages. And then it talks about the connection. So this is where it talks about the different colors, how you connect the colors. Also talks that you can use the 2 power options, you know, power 1 and power 2. So they are just 2 different connectors, but they accept the same voltage. And, you know, just some basic setup, how you would set up the device in the Tuya app. So yeah, nothing much to be honest, but yeah, this is pretty much what you need. In terms of connecting the LED strip, this is just a regular non-digital LED strip. So obviously there are no individual addressing on these LED strip, so it will always light up in a uniform color. In order to test this in the Sonoff or the eWeLink system, I thought the best device to test it is the NS Panel Pro. And actually I already paired up the LED strip, the Moes LED strip with the NS Panel Pro. And actually I used the NS Panel Pro as a Zigbee gateway. So I didn't use the earlier Sonoff Zigbee gateway. And as you can see, the light is there. And if I click, then it turns off. And if I click again, then it turns on. And if I go into the details, then you can see that I have the on-off button here as well. And I can change the color temperature, and probably you can see on the LEDs, I mean, there's auto white balance on the camera, but then you can see how it is mixing the white and the cool light LED. And of course I can increase the brightness, but I thought that I just move it to the lowest possible brightness, which is, oh, actually there is a 0% one. So it's, you know, it's still, you know, fairly light, but anyway, so you can control the brightness here, and if you change to the color mode, then you can change the colors, and it works. And I think it is a little bit off, because let's say I selected blue now, and it's a little bit purplish, and if I select yellow, then it's a little bit greenish, so it looks like that the color wheel is slightly shifted to the right. I mean, red is fine, but here I am yeah, I'm definitely yellow, but it's a little bit greenish. But anyway, you can still go through each of the colors, and then it also gives you this gradient, so the saturation. So if you move the cursor up here, then it's more like a you know, less saturation, and down here is the most amount of saturation. And of course, you can do the same in the eWeLink application as well. Here, the device is called the Moes. I already renamed it, but the NS Panel Pro hasn't updated it yet, but you can see I can change it from here. And if I go in, then I have the same thing. So I have either I can select the white color, so I can change the color temperature here, or I can go into the color wheel and then change the colors from here. And actually, yeah. And then you can see that the UI updates on the NS Panel Pro as well. So if I increase the brightness, then that increases on the screen as well. And on the main screen, sorry, on the amp screen, you have the usual things. So you can add schedules when the device should turn on and off. You can't specify color here. You just select the on and off. You also have a timer. So it's like a sleep timer. And that's pretty much it. And within the settings, you don't really have anything else. You can change the name. You can create a group. So if you have multiple of these lights, you can just group them together so they appear as a single light. And that's pretty much it. But the other thing I wanted to quickly mention is within the scenes. I think this is a fairly recent update. I haven't created scenes for a couple of weeks or months, and I've noticed that when you select a light, previously you only had the on-off events that you can pick, or sorry, the on-off actions, but now you can also change the brightness and the colors, well, the colorfulness or the saturation and the color as well. So all these functions are now available in the scenes as well. As I said previously, it was just on-off. So this is also a really nice addition in the eWeLink application. And now you can fully utilize your Moes Zigbee LED controller as well if you have a Sonoff ecosystem. So I changed the setup now. As you can see, I no longer have the Sonoff NS Panel Pro, but I have my Blitzwolf Zigbee gateway that is connected to Tuya. And of course now the Moes Zigbee LED driver is connected to the Blitzwolf, and as you can see here in the Tuya app, I have the device and I can control it from here. So if I turn it on and off, then well, obviously it turns on and off. And we have 3 different modes here. So we have the white balance mode. As you can see, as I turn it from the warm light, then only the warm light LED is lit. I think for the Sonoff, it's still the cool light was on to some extent. And as I move it across, then you can see that gradually it fades it over to the white light or the cool light. And of course, I can change the brightness as well, but I was just turning it down so it is better visible on the camera. And I can turn it into color mode, and then you have a color wheel, and then you can change the color. And as you can see, the wiring is good because here the color is more close to what I pick on the phone. I mean the actual color of the LED. And of course you can change the brightness here as well, and you can also change the saturation. So it's pretty much the same what we have seen in the, for the Sonoff one. And you also have this music thing where it basically, the phone just listens to the ambient music, and based on some peaks, then it randomly changes colors. So I'm not sure how to trigger this. But, oh yeah, it is not working because I'm doing the screen recording, and I think in screen recording that takes over the microphone. So, but yeah, it's not really a good effect. I mean, it just, flickers. I hate these kind of gimmicks. So yeah, okay, let's let's set it to one of the colors and then turn it down. And by the way, you don't have any other function here. So if I go into the settings, then you can see that it's just the basic stuff. So again, you can create a group. So if you have multiple of these devices, you can just group them together. But other than that, yeah, there is device update and yeah, device name and device information. In the Sonoff app, we had the timer function and the schedule function. We don't have it here, but you can certainly create a scene. So if I go into the scene screen, and if I want to create a new one, let's say it's tap to run. I just want to see the actions that you get with this device. So run device and then Moes. As you can see, you can change, turn the device on and off. You can change the color. So you can either, set a specific color with the actual color value and the intensity and the brightness, or if you want to control the white temperature, so the color temperature, then you have a different slider where you can change between warm white and cool light and, well, anything between, and also the brightness. So again, very similar to what we have seen in the Sonoff app. And that's pretty much it, what you can do with it in the Tuya ecosystem. And finally, let's look at how it looks like in the Zigbee2MQTT network. So I just paired this device with my Zigbee2MQTT server, which is running on my main server. Well, it's in my main computer, which runs Node-RED and some of the other stuff. And by the way, for the actual Zigbee coordinator here, I'm using a Sonoff Zigbee dongle. And I have made a separate video how I set it up, so if you're interested. So as you can see, it detected that it is a Moes model, or a manufacturer, and the model is this driver. And actually I can see the same ZLD RCV model number on the case itself, which is written in here. So let's see how this device looks like. So the other thing I wanted to check, that this is a router type device. So this can be used to extend your Zigbee mesh network. And if I want to look at all the, the properties or the actions that it exposes, we have a big on-off button, so you can turn it on and off here. You can change the brightness. As you can see, it is working. And then you have, again, different settings for the color temperature. So you have the coolest to the cool and the warm and natural and warmest. And as you can see, it mixes the cool white and the warm white LED. And then there is another color temperature variant. And I think this is probably used for the color light. Sorry, that's the startup. And yeah, we can also change the colors. And obviously there are a couple of preset colors here, but you can choose any color in between as well, and change the saturation and the color, and then it would update the, it does update the color. And what we haven't seen in in most of the other systems, there is an effect as well. And when what I noticed that these are really small effects. So you can just create a blink effect, which is going to do one single blink, which is, to be honest, it's more like a breed than so much as a blink, because the breed is pretty much the same, or the OK is almost the same. Maybe it's a little bit shorter, and yeah, the channel change. Maybe it's not really straightforward how you use this, but I think this is going to be a great option. So let's say if you have this light and then it's on a certain color or a certain color temperature, and you want let's say your somebody is at the door, so they ring the doorbell, and then you just start a blink effect. So it doesn't really change the light, but it just, does a pulse. So you will be notified that something is happening. So actually I quite like this effect, and I don't mind that this is not a continuous effect, although there is a finish effect and a stop effect. So I'm not really sure how that is making any difference, because anything I seem to, select from here just pulses the light. It seems that it pulses up to full brightness, and then it goes back to the preset. So if I select again, well, of course, if I'm on full brightness, then it dims down and then it comes back. So I think that's quite smart how they have implemented that. You also have a do not disturb function. I can't really figure out what this is. Maybe if it's do not disturb, then these effects are not working. Well, it doesn't seem that way. And also there is a color power on behavior. So that can be initial, previous, or customized. So for example, I would like if the power on state of this light is off. So hopefully I can set it with this power on behavior. If you're using Zigbee2MQTT and if you're using Home Assistant, you will be able to, you would have access to all these functions and properties in your Home Assistant as well. And I think that's pretty much it. So I can look at the map, but in the device properties screen, it was already mentioned that this is a router. So if I look at it, this is a router. So it actually already found some of my other things, and it is using this to route some of the messages through, you know, for example, this plug and also this study router, which is another mains power device, which is in the same room as this is at the moment. So that will be my review of the Moes Zigbee LED driver. If you like this product, I'm going to leave purchasing links in the video description. But that will be all for now. Thanks for watching, and hopefully see you in the next video.